Welcome to the stage, Kerry.
Greetings, beautiful humans, inquisitive souls, Mom. I don't know if Kona's still here, but okay. Couple quick questions for you. The first one, have you ever had a goal or an idea and you thought, oh my God, this is going to be fantastic, like this will be the thing, and you share it with somebody, oh, you have one, and you share it with somebody, and the response you get is something along the lines of, oh, don't be ridiculous. That just doesn't make sense. Like, raise your hand if you've had an idea like that. Let me see a few of you. Okay, that's good. One more audience participation question here, which is, how many of you ever in your life have had the opportunity to step up to a race of any distance on your feet? Raise your hand. Put your hands in the air if you've ever done that. Just a few, okay. Leave your hand up if it's more than 400 meters. Leave your hand up. Okay, 5 kilometers or more. Leave your hand up. Good, good. Let's go 10K or more. Leave your hand up. Nice, very nice. How about, let's go to half marathon. Anybody? Good. Getting fewer numbers here. How about a marathon? Marathon, very nice. 50K? 50K. Anyone else? 50K, we go 50 miles, we go 100K. Okay, so April 4th of this year, I stepped up to the start line of an event, an endurance event called the Monster in Arizona. And the Monster is in the Sonoran Desert. And I frankly wasn't sure if I had the training. I wasn't sure if I would be able to deal with the terrain. I wasn't sure. Arizona, temperatures, desert, super cold, daytime, super hot. I just didn't know. And there's a step that you need to go through where you adjust your expectations, your horizon changes, so that you recognize, for example, that if you go to the start of a race, like this one, you think, okay, you want to at least have some idea that you can finish this. And me in that position right there, I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish it or not. If you look at, for example, a 5-kilometer race and compare it to an ultramarathon, and you put it in bar chart form and include both elevation on the pink and distance in the blue, to get from 5K to the Boston Marathon, that's an order of magnitude difference, right? You need to slowly adjust what you think is possible. Like, hey, I'll go out and run around the block. Now I'm going to run a kilometer. Now I'm going to run 5K. Now I'm going to run 10K, and so on. Now I'm going to go for hours. And eventually, you get to the point where you think, okay, I'm getting close to ready. Well, the Monster, the profile looks like this. And the Monster, if you started at sea level and started climbing and got to the top of Mount Everest, you'd still have to keep going for quite a while before you would have turned around and went all the way back down. Because the Monster, the distance in the Monster is 304 miles. So if you compare, on the left side, the Boston Marathon with its elevation and distance, and you compare it to the Monster, going through single-track trails day and night through the desert, it's kind of a different deal. Again, an order of magnitude different. So how do you get to the place where you step up at the start and you think, you know what, maybe, just maybe, I got a chance at getting through this. Maybe. I know, for example, that this process of adjusting your expectations, moving your horizon out a little farther, a little farther, a little farther, I've got a prime example of that, which is Alex Honnold. He's a climber, a rock climber. In 2017, he stepped up to a route on the base of El Capitan in Yosemite called Freerider and proceeded to climb 900 meters, 2,900 feet, with no ropes and no protection. Now, this is insane. Professional climbers looked at that and thought, I don't even know how that's possible. He must just have ice water in his veins. How is that even a thing? So Alex Honnold didn't just one day say, I'm going to go and just climb the the most intimidating face in North America. Everything is incremental. He's shifting his horizon just a little bit. I'm going to go bouldering. I'm going to climb 10 feet. Now I'm going to climb 10 meters. Now I'm going to climb the same route 50 times. Now I'm going to climb it without a rope. That seems doable. Until you're at a place which is almost unimaginable. And the achievement of Alex Honnold getting to that point is bonkers. So I'm going to invite you right now to join me in a little journey of ridiculousness, because these races require your feet. And if you look down at your 2 feet, go ahead, look down at your 2 feet. Pick one that you think, oh, that's a pretty good one right there. And follow through with me. So I'm just going to ask that you take your shoe off, or your boot or whatever. Actually take it off. I expect you to follow through if you can. Grab your shoe, take it off, hold it up. That's it. Good, good, good. Very nice. So now I'm going to give you a quick invitation if you have your shoe off. Congratulations, by the way, doing something a little different, maybe a little ridiculous. Now what I'm going to ask you to do is take your shoe, just shift up for a second, put it underneath on your seat, and just sit on your shoe. Go ahead, do that. Pick it up. Sit on your shoe. Congratulations. Good. So if you're going to be doing anything that's ridiculous, to some degree, you're going to need to be a little uncomfortable. Stretching your boundaries requires that you get uncomfortable. To develop more endurance or to develop more strength, you've got to stress yourself to the point where your body is being uncomfortable. And that is going to initiate change, and that is going to change what's possible for you. So this is what the course looked like on the Monster. It is mountainous. You are going up and you are going down. There are literal peaks and valleys. Every potential project that you might have, every big goal that you've got, I guarantee you there are going to be peaks and valleys. Those peaks and valleys are physical in the terrain. They're mental. You're going to reach high points and think, oh man, this is great. I'm feeling like $1 million. And then all of a sudden you're going to feel like, oh my word, this is a disaster. How am I ever going to get to the end of this thing? You've got fueling. You might run out of calories. You might run out of water. You've got hydration. There's energy. Are you feeling good? Are you feeling energetic? Do you have enough in the tank to actually go through another night without sleep? So peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys, by necessity, are things that you need to deal with. In the business world, I work with organizations. I've worked with several thousand organizations, and usually what they're looking for is some form of transformation. They want to feel like there's a difference from the start to the finish. And they also want to create a highlight experience, something memorable. If you're creating something memorable and you can include an element of the ridiculous, the chances are that they will seize onto that. And if they go on a retreat, they're not going to remember the hotel. They're not going to remember the breakfast that was served. But they will remember ridiculous things they do with people. So one of the things I have them do is a business simulation. And the business simulation involves delivering a product. And the product, I give them cardboard, I give them packing tape, and I tell them, you've got to make a boat capable of transporting a normal-sized adult 100 meters in open water. Go. And partway through, they think, well, this is, good theoretical exercise. I have to do this. But eventually they notice that, well, there's a pool nearby or there's a lake. And then they start to think, are we actually going to have to get in this thing and go on the water? And then they realize that, yes, they are. Their horizon has once again shifted. I think, oh, my word, what's this going to be like? getting on the boat and seeing if it works. In the beginning, the chances of success, as estimated by the groups, are between 0 and 25%. Like, everyone's going to sink. The reality, by the time you get to the end, is you end up with something like this, where these three are so confident in their boats, they didn't even bother to take their hoodies off. Like, I'm just going in. It's fine. And they survive at an amazing float ratio, we call it. I had the opportunity to work with 3,200 bank regulators. Bank regulators and great artistic ability are two parts of a Venn diagram that don't have a lot of overlap. So, of course, when I pitched this, they're trying to figure out what it's going to be like. And I said, well, I want to do a Tibetan sand mandala with 3,200 people, each spending an hour putting something together, and every single one of them will have some. And eventually, they decided to take a chance and go with it. A ridiculous thing. And at the end, we ended up with 640 panels that everybody had a piece of. And I had some of the regulators come up to me afterwards, and they said, when we walked in, we thought, oh my God, we just walked into preschool. This is horrible. We got these art supplies. What are we doing here? And he said, by the end, he was fully invested. And when this thing was revealed at the end, they were in awe, like, my word, that was really something. Another key factor in creating some sort of transformation or some sort of journey towards the ridiculous is doing something that has an element of play or fun or novelty in it. So sometimes we have people build a fortress. And that fortress is to protect special goods. And then partway through, we roll out what's called a potato cannon, or a whole bunch of potato cannons. And those potato cannons then get used to blast potatoes at about 200 kilometers an hour at the castles. Again, something eminently memorable. If you take a look and think about companies that do ridiculous things, about 23 years ago, a company came out and thought, oh, it's going to be a great idea. Let's make foam clogs. You know what company I'm about to tell you. It's Crocs. The movie Idiocracy thought it was such a ridiculous idea. They thought, as society deteriorates, the only shoes that people wear in the future are Crocs, thinking it would be a bit of a... Today, you go to an airport, Crocs everywhere. Ridiculous idea that has actually persisted. So back to the course. In addition to great beauty and great moments, you end up experiencing what I would call the opportunity to have high points, peaks and valleys, but you also get to a point. Has anybody here ever driven through the night, with either alone or with somebody? Raise your hand if you've actually driven through the night. Okay, so a lot of you. If it's like me, you get to a point where you think, holy mackerel, I'm tired. This is going to be brutal. And then something happens. Maybe a song comes on. Maybe someone starts to talk. Maybe you roll the window down. Maybe the sun comes up. When something like that happens, things transform. And you think, oh my goodness, I found my second wind. Well, this is on the first day. This is probably about third wind that I've gotten. So the first wind was great. Then I ended through a low point. Second wind was great, low point. Third wind, and sun's going down. And I know that there are some things that will take you out, and there's some things that will bring you back. So daylight. I went through the night. It became day. I got my second wind, my third wind, my fourth wind. I went up to the top of the hill, and then there was a downhill, and I got my third wind. I got into the aid station, and I got some food. Another wind. I got a wind. So there's a concept I like to call the nth wind. N being the unknown number of winds you must experience to get to the point where you finished a thing. The nth wind. So to go with the high points, there are also low points. And the low points might require, for example, a dirt nap. I've taken a lot of miraculous 5-minute sleeps where a rocky trail feels like a finest hotel ever. And I've had a buddy, Mike McKnight, who was pacing through fastest known time attempt on the Colorado Trail, a 400-mile trail, 486-mile trail. And partway through, it's like fourth night, fifth night for him. He says to me, are there 4 monkeys on an ATV riding over there? We're in the middle of nowhere in a forest. And I said, no, Mike, but that's really cool that you can see them right now. He said, I think I'm hallucinating. I said, you're definitely hallucinating. You have gone through a transformation, my friend. So it's not uncommon to fall asleep. Also, you've got to deal with blisters. You have to deal with things like that. So every peak, every valley, every nth wind that you experience is something that with time you know you can get on top of. I actually finished the race. And when I got to the end, I'm going to say there's two things in particular that are important. First thing is the attitude which you bring. If you approach with the attitude of, you know what, this is going to be tough, this is going to be challenging, and I'm going to persevere. That's way different. I had a friend who's a very talented trail runner. She participated in this race called the Fat Dog 120, not so far away from here. The first time it happened, and she didn't complete it. And I talked to her, and she said, well, you know, I had a pacer, and the pacer was so negative. He said, oh, this is so hard, much more difficult. And I thought, oh, you're really not looking so good. Oh, the aid station, the cutoff, you're probably going to miss it. And it just got into her head to where it ain't happening. So is it safe to also say energy is infectious? 100%, right? Good energy, woo, fantastic. That works in this. Let me tell you why I know this works. I share some of these on a YouTube channel. My YouTube videos are super amateur, long, couple hours long, bouncing along, me chatting to a trail, and they have been streamed over YouTube for 12.5 million hours worth of content. If you do the math, that's 1,300 years of full-time work. And when I show up at some of these races, I hear people, and they'll talk about, hey, I'm here partially because I watched you, and it seemed like you were having a good time, like it was decent. It wasn't, you were embracing the suffering, so I decided, why not come out here? So for me, that's extremely touching. And I'm going to ask you directly, your ridiculous goal, what is it? Do you have one? If you don't, I'm challenging you. Well, grab one. They make the absolute best stories. And I'm going to finish with a quote here, which came from 1910, Theodore Roosevelt. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the ridiculous person stumbles. I've made a few green changes. Or where the doer of ridiculous deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the one who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there's no effort without error or shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the ridiculous, knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring ridiculously. So my challenge to you right now is, how many of you are still actually sitting on a shoe? Very nice. Much respect. Congratulations. Go out and do something ridiculous.